Hey, everybody, welcome back to Soulful Abundance with Chris. I am here with my friend Brandon, and he is going to share with us how you can actually take a business model that is small and actually scale it in a way that is going to work really, really well for you. So you don't feel like you are so overwhelmed and struggling with having to do all the things. And so Brandon's company and his expertise in Zone of Genius is to really help you see kind of like what is not working right now in the market for the small business owner, right? Like many of us, and how you can actually change that model using some of his strategies to actually build and grow and scale in a way that feels really good and aligned for you. So, Brandon, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. That's a big lift. Are you sure we can get that done?
We're going to do all of it today.
Let's do it. I'm excited to be here. Thank you again.
Yeah, totally. So, I know that we were talking just a little bit earlier, let's start with like what's broken. Like what is it that you see that small business owners are trying to do that just is a heavy lift that's not working for them? What's broken?
Yeah, we always say your business is broken, but it's not your fault, right? So
Hmm.
it's the business model that is accepted in the marketplace and that has evolved over centuries, really. And that is
Yeah.
when you look back at the Industrial Revolution, when we started to consolidate businesses and grow big businesses instead of kind of grow out, if you will. What happened was we started to put people in charge of departments. And that's
Mm.
where things started to break. So when we look at business today, when we think about business today, we think of it in forms of silos. So we have the marketing silo, the people
Mm.
silo called HR, we have the
Hmm.
legal silo. Everything's separated in business. And it kind of works at the big like Fortune 500 level because they have people and money to throw at problems. But
Hmm.
when we as small business owners and entrepreneurs look at that and try to bring that down to our level, it's totally inefficient because we don't have people and we don't have that much money and we certainly don't have all the time in the world. So we try to
Yeah.
copy this model and almost like break our day up and our calendars up into these different silos. What we need to realize is that business is a living, breathing organism and it's all connected. It's just like the
Hmm.
human body, right? You need to
Hmm.
know how things are connected. And then when you know that, you can leverage those links to actually grow and scale your company efficiently. And we always say we're the lazy consultants. We can do as little as possible to get a maximum impact and result because we just know how those couple little things are connected.
Oh, I love that. Tell me about some of the things that are connected. Like for those that are listening that are like, I don't even know what those things are. I just am clueless about that piece.
Yeah, I'll give you the most prominent example we run into in talking to clients. And so let me back up one quick step.
Mhm,
So there are 10 fundamental business disciplines that kind of like I talked about, the marketing,
mhm,
the HR, all this other stuff.
mhm,
We call them business disciplines. They're not silos. They're just
mhm,
places to put different components of a business. So within those 10, they're all linked just in different ways into different parts. The most common one we run into is people come to us and they say, we need more leads or we need
mhm.
more sales. They think it's like a marketing and sales issue,
Right.
which are actually in the same discipline, marketing and sales. Those are
Mhm,
not two separate things in your company, first and foremost.
mhm,
But when we start to dig a little bit and we say, okay, tell me about who's your ideal client? Like, who do you love serving? Who is your company built around? I don't know. Like,
mhm.
what do you mean you don't know? So typically people put that
Yep.
kind of stuff in their marketing and they say, okay, who's your client avatar? And they use all
Mhm,
these ugly words like avatar and leads and
mhm.
all this other stuff. So we say, okay, we need to take a step back. That is important for marketing, yes, but your company should be built around the person you serve, not just your marketing, or
Yep,
else there's incongruence.
yep.
So we look at a different discipline first with all of our clients, and we call navigation, which would
Mm,
traditionally be called strategic planning.
mhm,
In this discipline, we look at three main things. That is your core values, your mission, and your vision as a company.
mhm.
If that is not properly built, which usually it's not, you don't know who you serve. You don't know why you serve them. You don't even know
Mhm.
why you exist as a company. You're just existing to exchange dollars. And every marketing idea looks like a good idea. Every business model looks like a good business model. Every challenge looks like the most urgent challenge. It's very hard to run your company in any direction without navigation. Kind of seems simple when I say it like that, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't know what your core values are, how can you actually start to build a culture within your company and also communicate that really well to your ideal
Yeah.
clients? Yeah. Makes so much sense. Cool. What else? What else you got for us about that?
So that's, yeah, that's the most common example. And then
Mhm.
another way your navigation or, the why your company exists will tie into who you serve is in the delivery of your product.
Yeah.
Because there's so many places where we look, whether it's on social media or the internet or the highway on a billboard, and everybody wants to tell you the one solution that you need to grow your business.
Yep.
What happens when you start to read into stuff like that and when you start to really think about how it applies to your business is that all business is the same. I will say that as a fact. I firmly believe that because of this architecture.
Amen.
I love it.
I'm right there with you.
Fantastic. But the caveat is all businesses are unique. So you
Hmm.
can't say this is the one strategy for Facebook ads to grow your company because that's impossible. It may have
Yeah.
worked for that one person,
Yep.
but it's not going to work for everybody. So we see these things, these giant claims, 10, 11x your company with this strategy. It worked for you and maybe a handful of people, but do you have
Hmm.
100% success with it? If
Hmm.
you don't, I just ethically believe you shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Or
Hmm.
you should
Hmm.
guarantee, like all of our products come with a 100% refund guarantee.
Hmm.
If we say something to you and we can't achieve that in a certain timeline, you get your money back because I can't go to sleep at night knowing that. So
Yeah.
in the delivery of your product or service, that has to be geared around your ideal client. Like the person you serve
Yeah.
needs to interact with you and your company in a very specific way. So
Hmm.
that is the order of your company, is what we call it, the discipline of order. And it's the business model you operate under and the value chain that you promise to your customers. So again, we're going back to navigation here because
Yep.
it's actually the only discipline that touches all 9 other disciplines. So it's very easy
Mm.
to give examples from. But if you don't start there, you can quickly see how your marketing message may be one thing and your business model or the fulfillment of your product or service could be totally off from what you promised. And that's
Hmm.
actually a really good example from the 10, 11x people of
Yeah.
how your promise doesn't really match up with your delivery and you have dissonance.
Yes, I see that so often where people are promised, the one right strategy, but if it doesn't feel right for you and your business and your values, and you try to implement it, there is going to be dissonance there. I know when I was first building and growing my business as a health coach and nutritional therapy practitioner, we were taught one way, and that was to go out and book a gazillion discovery sessions and sell your 90-day program. And it didn't feel good to me because it felt like I was just trying to make transactions. It didn't feel like I was really taught any way to really create relationships. And, many wellness entrepreneurs and coaches, we're wired more for the nurturing, for the connecting. We're in this work because we really want to help people change lives. We're in the service industry. And so when we're taught a model that doesn't resonate, it's really, really hard to actually take consistent action on that and get results with that because there is that dissonance there. So I love that you're starting there with your mission, your core values, and making sure that those are aligned and in congruence with you and the way that you actually want to run your business and the people that you serve. Right. And that's, I teach a very relational strategy, but it's not for everybody. Right. There's some people that maybe they want to build their business by running Facebook ads. I'm not their girl, or getting on stages and creating $1 million talk. I'm not their girl for that. So I love that we get to start there first.
Yeah,
Good.
it's so important. And what you said was actually the perfect example because in that one strategy, that probably came from someone who had a lot of time, loved to build relationships on these one-on-one discovery calls. And
Right.
that's okay. If that's your model, that is
Yep.
perfectly fine. No one should ever tell you otherwise.
Yep.
But if that doesn't light you up as a human
Hmm.
being, how are you going to show up for those people? It's going to actually drain you and kill your business before it grows your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean to say that having conversations is not good, or discovery sessions are not good. It's just that we were taught that they came first instead of last.
Yeah.
Right? We were taught that you're supposed to go do that first and sell your person on the call versus develop a relationship with somebody, connect with somebody, nurture them, give them value, walk them through the client pathway. Like none of that was taught. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. So COO, tell those who are new to their business, what does that even mean? What does COO mean?
So the best way to explain what a COO is, on paper, it is a chief operating officer. It is a big, fancy, ugly corporate term that honestly, we don't have a better word for it, but
I know, right? We
it
need
is
to
what
make a new one.
I know. If you're familiar with some different template style business models that we are not a fan of, they use words like integrator and visionary. So, there are different words for what we do, but really the essence of a COO, you have to look at the CEO or the founder to
Hmm.
understand what that person typically looks like and why you really need a COO, or you at least need to put that hat on
Hmm.
occasionally
Hmm.
in order to get anything done. They're
Yeah.
a really bad term. I was on another show and someone said it's kind of like the COO is the executor. And I was like, out of context, really bad term that we are the executor, right? Exactly. Well, I am not a serial killer. Let me go on the record and say that. So no, we don't kill people, but what we do is the CEO, the visionary, the founder, the business owner, you know, interchange words there. That person, especially for small businesses and entrepreneurs, they usually get into business for themselves for a variety of reasons. But when you boil it down, it's to either get away from a 9 to 5, to be their own boss, to make a
Hmm.
change in the world, or because they love the product or service they provide. All beautiful reasons. There's no shame in anyone or no judgment in any of them. But what that person is at their core is a dreamer. They
Hmm.
want to make a difference in the world.
Yep.
Hopefully, if you're chasing money, I'm just not your guy.
Yep.
I don't think Chris is your girl either. But
Mhm.
if you're chasing money, different story. If you're chasing impact, if you're chasing different, if you're chasing a passion, you are the dreamer version of a CEO. What that person usually lacks is discipline and execution over time. So
Yes.
what a COO does, or the COO hat will do, if you just want to do this part-time, 1 day a week, that's fine, is get you in that zone of taking action, but not just any action, the right action that will achieve those dreams in a predictable period of time. So it's more than just, doing things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying go post on social media 12 times a day. That may be right for you, may not be right for you. The COO will evaluate what is the 80/20 rule. We're the lazy consultants.
Hmm.
What is the least amount of action I can do to get the biggest results? And we
Hmm.
will take action on those things. So that in a nutshell, that's really what a good COO will do.
Yeah. And so we're really talking about strategy here over tactics. Is that
Yes,
correct? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So think about operational strategy. How are you going to implement the marketing and the sales components to bring more ideal clients into your ecosystem or move them along the client pathway? And fractional means that you get to do it in a smaller, like instead of having to hire a COO as a permanent employee, like let's just explain some of these terms for people that are like, that sounds amazing, but I can't afford like to bring on a COO into my business.
Most can't, and there's
Mhm,
nothing wrong with that. But that
mhm,
was our whole intention with creating the business model that we operate under at What If, is we said, okay, so I had a company prior to this one, and I was able to grow that one, scale it, get out of the operations. I was a true business owner, which we
mhm,
love creating, not
mhm,
operators, but owners. And I came to my business partner and I said, I would love to just have a resource for all this knowledge that I gathered over the years from other people to build like a fractional C-suite and have access to those brilliant people who can move you decades ahead in your business for
mhm,
a fraction of the cost. So we put our heads
mm,
together. We said, all right, maybe there's a way to actually make this possible. The term fractional just means instead of getting the whole time, you get a piece of the time. And
mhm,
whatever that ratio is really going to be up to the individual contract. We do packages, so that's like set times throughout the month and set sprints and packages. A true fractional COO will work in your company for anywhere between 5 and 30 hours a week. It just
mhm,
depends. But
yeah,
a full-time COO, I mean, they're expensive. Full
mhm,
disclosure, a good COO will start around $250,000 a year. So
yeah,
not
yeah,
every
yeah,
company can really afford that. And realistically, if you're not doing at least 5 to 10 million a year in revenue, you're probably not going to be able to hire a COO. You're going to have more of an operations manager, which is just a little bit different, more tactics, less strategy. Not a bad position, but it's
mhm,
just the true COO, the person who's going to really move the company forward, that has a very, very expensive position.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And they're responsible for then building out team underneath them and making sure that things are implemented properly. And chances are those of us that are not at the 5 to 10 million market yet, yeah, that's not something that obviously that we can invest $250,000 in having a permanent employee there. Tell me a little bit about what is the difference between, and these are different terms. So just to kind of give people, some context here, what's the difference between a fractional COO versus a online business manager versus an operation manager? Like, can you help us kind of decipher some of the terms that are out there in the market?
Yeah, so I think the best way to describe that would be a visual that we like to use within our company. I'll do my best to describe it without using my hands on the screen, but I'm gonna do
Use
both.
your hands. I love
I,
that's fine.
I'm a visual person, so I'm gonna just put triangles all over the screen. So okay,
Yeah.
so picture a pyramid, a triangle broken into three parts, right? So you
Hmm.
have the very top section,
Hmm.
and that would be it's the smallest section of the pyramid. That is how each individual letter of the architecture relates to each other. So those 10 fundamental business
Hmm.
disciplines, our name for this architecture is harmonious. So
Mm.
the word harmonious, each letter stands for a discipline. All of them have these triangles underneath. So how does every single discipline in your business relate to each other? We mentioned that in the beginning of this
Mhm.
episode. That is the top level. Almost no companies in the world really leverage that. I mean, the biggest ones
Mhm.
do, the Fortune 100, the giant companies, they have a sense of how this works. When you go a step down from that, that's that middle tier. That's where the fraction or the C-suite will live. So that's your
Mhm.
COO, CEO, CMO, CFO,
Mhm.
all these funny
Mhm.
terms that we don't
Mhm.
really use as small businesses. They're looking at strategy and direction and vision of the company and how all of their individual departments or
Mhm.
silos will
Mhm.
relate to the other silos and the vision of the company. When
Right.
you go down to the bottom level, this is where small business owners live, and we call that the tactics, trends, or methods.
Mhm.
In there, that's where we're worried about Facebook ads or ClickUp versus Notion or
Mhm.
this spreadsheet versus Asana. All these
Mm.
gadgets and doodads, if you will, they all live in the bottom. None of those will ever effectively grow your company. They're just going to distract you. You have to at
Mm.
least get to that middle level to be looking forward. And when you start to turn the pyramid on its head, that's where growth comes from. When you look
Mm.
architecture first and then strategy and vision, the tools, tactics, and trends will fall into place because
Mhm.
it's everything will reveal itself. So the online business manager is really in the bottom. They're going to
Mhm.
manage your ClickUp, your Asana, your projects, whatever. They're going to show you kind of how to get done what you think you need to get done. They usually don't advise on the direction of the company. It's just,
Yep.
okay, you as a CEO have told them, this is what I'm doing. They say, okay, here's an efficient way to get that done.
Right.
Fantastic. You go up one level, and this is where, a fractional CEO or fractional anybody will come into play here a little bit, but it's more of that. Um, it's more of the strategy in
Mhm.
this case. So that would be a little bit of the ops manager. Ops manager is going to float between the bottom two tiers. A true fractional or executive will live only in the middle level. And if
Mhm.
they're good, they'll touch the top level and they'll
Mhm.
understand how what they do in their discipline affects everything else.
Mm.
It's tough to do that as a CFO, a CMO, because you're kind of only looking still in your silo, a little bit
Mhm.
outside, but
Mhm.
most really don't. A CEO will
Mhm.
see everything. A COO will connect everything, and
Mhm.
everybody else lives in that second tier. So you really
Mm.
have to be at the top of your game for those top two positions, the CEO and the COO, to know how everything relates to each other. So I hope that breakdown makes sense, kind of hard
Yeah.
to visualize, but that's
Yeah, that was really
really tight.
great. That was so helpful. That was so helpful to me just to kind of understand, where these different people live because there's so much misinformation. There's a lot of noise in the online market that if you have an online
Yeah.
business, you just need to get an online business manager. Lord knows I've spent a lot of money in that and it doesn't really pan out in the way that you want. And you still need some systems and processes in your business so that you can actually effectively manage your online business, onboard new clients, know, what marketing strategy you're implementing, how to do that properly. So I love that you offer this fractional support so that small business owners have the opportunity to get that higher level thinking and implement that in their business without having to bring a full-time employee in. That's so good.
Yeah, and you know what makes a lot of people angry when we say this is you said you have to have the systems and processes in the business. An online business manager should do that. Most of
Hmm.
the time they will for whatever they're touching. A fractional COO should do that. An ops manager should do that stuff too. But what the best are going to tell you, and what no online business manager and no ops manager are going to really tell you, is that 80% of what you're doing is a waste of your time. So
Hmm.
it's not about having systems and processes. It's really about eliminating them and then only choosing the ones that you have to have.
Interesting. Interesting. So getting back to the essentials of what it is that you need to do, right? Yeah, that 80/20 rule I really, really love. And one of the things that we definitely do in my program Activate Abundance is let's take a look at, what is working, right? Where did you get, your last 5, 10 clients? Let's double down on those activities that are the most important, that are the needle movers instead of all the other things behind the scenes that you feel like you've got to try to run that are a waste of time for sure. So what are some things that you see that fall into that 20% category that you help business owners with?
Well, when we go through our program, we have two core programs. We call them
Hmm.
sprints because they're 90 days. And like I said, they come with a complete money back guarantee. They're set prices. They're 90 days. We guarantee an outcome, and they're to
Yep.
achieve the two most common desires that small business owners have. And that is time freedom or
Hmm.
operational efficiency. You'll notice
Mm.
I said nothing about more leads because it's never about more leads. It's about making sure you're either maximizing your clients and what they get, or you get your time back as an entrepreneur, and then you can scale. So we tackle these two things first. So the least amount of effort that we do is first get your navigation rock solid.
Hmm.
So if you do nothing else from this episode, go through and just go through this process and see where it gets you in a short
Hmm.
amount of time. Get your navigation, your core values, your mission, and your vision. If you can like have a rock solid mission, vision, core values, a lot of the other stuff in your company starts to fall into place or out of place, and you just don't need it. It becomes irrelevant.
Yep. Yep.
Then
Yep.
what we're going to do, phase two, is your operation. So we pick 3 core projects per quarter. And then under each of those, we identify 3 needle movers or KPIs that we can
Hmm.
influence to get the outcome. It's very
Hmm.
important that we're not looking back at lagging indicators, but they're leading indicators. So figure out, so now you have 9 things.
Hmm.
Then you're going to put them on your calendar. So it goes from possible to inevitable. You make
Hmm.
sure you get those 9 things done at whatever frequency, if it's daily, hourly, weekly, whatever, that's fine. Put them on your calendar, get them done, and watch what happens in 90 days. And then on the backside of that, you would make sure you have SOPs around that so you could very quickly delegate them to someone else, whether it's on your team, a VA, or if you're going to hire somebody, you can
Hmm.
get them off your plate. The goal of a small business, in that just hitting 6-figure range, just getting past 6 figures, is do it, systemize it, get it off your plate.
Yep. Yep. Oh my gosh, so good. Love this. Love this so much. How can people find you, Brandon? What is the best way for people to reach out to you? And we'll definitely make sure that we put it in the notes here in the show notes, as well as on the YouTube description as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the website, our website is whatif.com. It's with a D. It's in the show notes. That's totally
Yep.
fine.
And
But
it's right here. Look on this. Everybody
yes,
can look on the
it's
screen. I
on
love
my
that.
name here. But so if I said anything today that makes you even in the slightest go, huh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Or maybe he's crazy, but I don't really know for sure. All you have to do is go to the website. The only thing on that site is our diagnostic tool, our assessment. So I mentioned the 10 key areas of business,
Yep.
the 10 fundamentals. We have an 8-minute assessment. You go through, answer the questions, and it will reveal for you a score in those 10 areas. And 100% of the time, which is crazy to me, but it's true. We have people surprised by where the biggest holes in their business are. And that's the whole thing where you don't really realize what connects until you see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's never where you think it is, but it usually always comes back to one of those two key areas. It's either you're spending too much time in your business or there's some operational inefficiencies, and that assessment will show you exactly where those are for you. So I would encourage you to go take that, and then it'll give you instructions on the back end in a report to fix them. So you don't even need to
Amazing.
talk to me. You can fix your whole business.
Wow, I'm going to go take that. You guys need to run and go do that. Holy cow, it's amazing. Very cool. Brandon, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for being here, giving us your time, giving us your brain and your genius as a COO. You guys go to whatif.com, WADIF.com, check Brandon out, take the assessment, see where you can actually maximize your time so that you can really focus on that 20% that is the most important in your business, and get rid of the 80% of the time wasters. And thanks again for being here, Brandon. This is really fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Take care. Be sure to check the show notes. Be sure to check the description, and we will see you next time.